It's December 1st, 2018. CCTV cameras record 22-year-old Grace Millane and her Tinder date, Jesse Shane Kempson, getting ready to leave a bar where they had met just a few hours earlier. Soon after, cameras capture them walking through the busy streets of central Auckland. They reach the entrance of a nearby hotel, step inside the lobby, and make their way toward the elevator. The doors close behind them, and the CCTV feed loses sight of them. Those few seconds of footage will later become some of the most widely viewed images in the case. It is the last time Grace Millane is ever seen alive. The next day is Grace's birthday. Messages begin to arrive on her phone from friends and family across the world. Congratulations, well wishes, and reminders of plans she had made for the future continue to appear on the screen. None of them receive a response. At first, those close to her assume she may be busy or traveling through an area with poor signal. But as the hours pass, the silence becomes harder to explain. Grace had always been careful during her travels, staying in touch and letting people know where she was. Her sudden disappearance raises alarm. Back in England, her family begins trying to reach her through every possible channel. Friends in New Zealand check her hostel and her social media accounts. When no one can find her, authorities are contacted. What starts as a missing person report quickly grows into a nationwide search, driven by the growing realization that Grace was last seen in the company of a man whose identity is still unknown to police. While Grace's loved ones wait for news, Jesse Shane Kempson is captured on hotel CCTV moving through the building alone. He rides the elevator several times, sometimes carrying bags, sometimes holding cleaning supplies. At one point, he is seen with a large suitcase, guiding it carefully through the hallway. He looks around as he moves, occasionally glancing toward the cameras. At the time, no one understands the significance of these actions. Investigators will later describe this footage as one of the most critical pieces of evidence in the entire case. Earlier that evening, before the date began, Grace had left her hostel at 5:37 p.m. She was nearing the end of a year-long backpacking journey that had taken her across multiple countries. New Zealand was one of her final destinations. She was excited, documenting her travels and sharing moments with friends and family back home. Meeting Jesse was meant to be just another part of that adventure. Jesse, meanwhile, had been drinking at a bar before they met. Empty bottles were left behind on the table when he left to find Grace. When they finally came together in a busy public area, the environment felt safe and ordinary. They walked and talked, then moved from one bar to another as the evening went on. CCTV footage and witness statements later confirm that they spent hours together, drinking and staying close, appearing at ease in each other's company. At around 8:30 p.m., they arrived at the Bluestone Room, a popular bar in central Auckland. Cameras and people inside the venue saw them standing close, laughing, and leaning toward each other. At 8:54 p.m., they were seen sharing a kiss. It was a small, ordinary moment that would later be replayed in courtrooms and on news broadcasts around the world. Shortly after leaving the bar, Grace sent a message to her friends, saying that the date was going well and that she felt a strong connection. It was one of the last messages she would ever send. She had no way of knowing that her night was about to take a fatal turn. What happens after they return to the hotel room is not captured by any camera. During the night, Grace is killed by strangulation. By the time the city wakes up the next morning, she is already gone, and her birthday messages remain unanswered. As the day begins, Jesse starts making a series of movements that will later draw intense scrutiny. At 8:07 a.m., he is recorded entering a store and buying a large suitcase. He pauses to check its size and depth before taking it to the counter. Minutes later, he visits another shop and purchases cleaning products. These actions form a timeline that investigators will later lay out in precise detail. He returns to the hotel and remains inside for several hours. At 10:42 a.m., he leaves again, taking a taxi to a car rental business where he rents a vehicle. Throughout the day, CCTV cameras across the city continue to follow his movements, building a digital trail that will eventually lead police straight back to him. Later that afternoon, while Grace's body remains inside the hotel room, Jesse goes on another Tinder date. He arrives at a bar wearing the same clothes from the night before. The woman he meets later tells police that she felt deeply uncomfortable during their time together. Something about his behavior unsettled her, and she ended the meeting early. Investigators will later say that her instincts may have saved her life. That evening, Jesse returns to the hotel carrying a carpet cleaner and bottles of cleaning solution. Shortly afterward, he is seen on CCTV pushing a trolley loaded with luggage into the elevator. One of the bags is the suitcase he bought that morning. It appears heavy, sagging slightly as he struggles to guide it into the lift. Inside is Grace's body. He loads the luggage into the rental car and drives away from the city. The next morning, he stops at a store and buys a shovel. He then heads toward the Waitakere Ranges, a remote forested area west of Auckland. There, in a quiet, isolated location, he digs a shallow grave and buries Grace's body. Afterward, he disposes of other items in public trash bins and takes the rental car to be cleaned, focusing on the rear area where the suitcase had been placed. Meanwhile, Grace's disappearance continues to dominate headlines. Her father, David Millane, travels to New Zealand and makes a public appeal for information. He asks anyone who may have seen or spoken to Grace to come forward. The image of a grieving parent standing before cameras spreads across the world, turning Grace's story into an international news event. New Zealand police begin reviewing hours of CCTV footage from bars, streets, shops, and the hotel. They reconstruct Grace's final hours step by step. Financial records reveal purchases made with Grace's credit card after her death, including the suitcase and cleaning supplies. Phone data and location tracking place Jesse with Grace throughout the night. Every piece of evidence tightens the focus on him as the last person to see her alive. On December 5th, officers locate Jesse at the City Life Hotel. He is taken into custody for questioning. Investigators search his room and find forensic evidence linking Grace to the space, including traces of her blood. Under the growing weight of evidence, Jesse admits to disposing of Grace's body, claiming her death was accidental. Police, however, point to the careful planning and actions taken afterward as signs of intent rather than panic. On December 9th, search teams recover Grace's body from the Waitakere Ranges. A post-mortem examination confirms that she died from strangulation. Bruising and injuries indicate that she was restrained. The findings solidify the case that investigators have been building for days. The trial begins in November 2019. Prosecutors present a detailed timeline supported by CCTV footage, witness testimony, digital records, and forensic analysis. The defense argues that the death was accidental. The jury listens to weeks of evidence, much of it centered on the surveillance footage that tracked Jesse's movements across the city. In the end, the jury finds Jesse Shane Kempson guilty of murder. On February 21, 2020, he is sentenced to life in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years. The judge describes the crime as a profound breach of trust and a calculated effort to hide the truth. After the trial, additional women come forward with reports of assaults connected to Jesse's other Tinder dates. These cases lead to further convictions and additional prison time, reinforcing the pattern of behavior uncovered during the investigation.